Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and I am joined by the most amazing co-host, Michael J. Russ. I want to welcome you, Michael, and let you know that I appreciate you so much. I'm so grateful for all that you bring to this show and to the world.
Ditto. You bring a lot yourself. Thank you very much. Yeah, another week. Another awesome topic, as we always do, unscripted like.
So I think I mentioned on the air before that I was reading this book called The Power of Awe. And one of the things that I've been tuning into, sometimes I'll get involved in a book and then I will put it down for a little while and then something will make me pick it back up. And this week, through the nature of the universe, I tuned into a video by Abraham Hicks, another one, and it was entitled, You Ask Source for Help. And this message is your answer. And it brought me back to this book that I had put aside for a little bit called The Power of Awe. And I have that hard copy book, and then I also have the audio book. And so I was listening to it, and I got a little bit further in the book, and I realized that scientifically they have shown that we actually have 3 levels of consciousness, one being safety. That's where a lot of people are. So you have a reward, and then you're stuck. And so there's all about purpose and productivity, and there's anxiety and fight or flight. And then as you transition from safety consciousness, you move into heart consciousness, where you are in a state of appreciation and gratitude. And then there's a third type of consciousness, which I was just so blown away by because it didn't have anything to do with the beginning of the book. And I thought, geez, this is the first time I'm hearing this. And it was all about spaciousness consciousness. And I thought, wow. And that's about being in the state of awe. Expansiveness, nonverbal, it's non-temporal. And so when you're in that place of your full capacity for joy, connection, tranquility, that's really when you're in the space of spacious consciousness. And one of the things that it struck me, and I think part of the reason I get these messages, I think, from the universe, divinely guided, one of the things in that video from Abraham Hicks was all about being in the now. And in the book, The Power of Awe, there was an example about how long does it take for a star, the light from a star, to reach the Earth. And I never really thought about this. Like, we're at night, we've been looking at the planets, we've been looking at the stars, but the nearest star is 4 years that it takes to reach the light. We see that light, and it takes 4 years to reach the Earth. And that's in Sirius. Now, there is another star, and I looked this up actually on the BBC, one of their scientific things. And the light from what they call the Eagle Nebula takes 7,000 years to reach the Earth. And I thought, what a great example about the now. We're seeing something that is going to take 7,000 years to reach the Earth. The now for that star is different than the now of where we are in this time-space continuum. And I never really thought about that. And
why would you? Most people.
Well, I know it. Well, I did not until I picked up the Power of Awe and started re-listening to it. But one of the things that was so powerful for me in listening to the reminder from Esther Hicks and Abraham was that there really is just the now. And she refers to it as a vortex. And I thought to myself, okay, you and I both like to go into definitions. What really is a vortex? And a vortex is a whirlwind of either fluid or a whirlpool. So if you can imagine that massive whirling energy. So if we are in the now and we are this vortex of creation, we are this massive being of whirling energy. And I loved that. I really did. I loved how that was. And I thought, okay, and in that center, that's really where the now is. That's the source of what we want to focus on. And it's all happening now. It's all happening now. To me, really, really brilliant. And one of the other things that I found about the idea of living in spacious consciousness is really about being in a state that transcends our typical experience. So when we're in a state of awe, we expand our awareness beyond our limitations. beyond the physical body, beyond our minds, and we really start to perceive from a broader perspective. And I think that when we do that, we start to feel more connected to everything around us, and we start to feel that sense of peace, joy, and abundance that we are all so deserving of, and that actually Esther speaks to in the video. And I will post the video when we post the show so that our audience has a connection to it. But I would love to hear your thoughts because, Michael, I think I listened to the video, 8 times, if not maybe more, because there were so many amazing nuggets of wisdom. And I know that you perceive the world and from a different vantage point, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about what moved you and what you think about spacious consciousness.
Wow. I haven't really thought about it. I
know it's bringing on you all the time.
That doesn't think about spatial consciousness when I get up or when I go to bed or as I'm working through my day. However, it's a great idea. It's a great concept, and I'm sure there are people that are higher pay grade than me that sit around all day and work that all out. However, as a human being, that a spirit in physical form, that's not at the top of my list. I will say this though, that
are you saying that I'm strange? Yes, I am.
Sometimes you can get deep into the weeds, or as my brother said, that's a rainforest. And I said, no, that's the Amazon. You can get really deep in there and never be found.
Thank you.
Find your way out. Yeah, but the interesting thing that she said that kind of ties with this, you think about what you said there, being connected, right, to all that is and all that moment of creation, being in the vortex. And I come at it from the opposite angle always. I'm thinking about mitigating the things that are keeping me from being in the vortex, being in that space, the things that get in the way of being there. Because, listen, we're human beings, and we're living this physical life, and there's a lot going on. We're exposed to a lot of things. So you can approach it from 2 ways. In order to get there, you have to mitigate everything. And those things that the dramas and the comments and people's moods and attitudes that you encounter throughout the day, including your own family, who you might encounter first thing in the morning. And I'm all about building up resilience to that sort of thing, building resilience to people's attitudes and mood and things that get people ticked off and things that they don't have any control over. Because that's where most people spend their time is focused on things that are way beyond their control. And it sort of creates this frustration and anxiety because you want to be able to control it, but you cannot. And I'd rather, and my goal in life is to remind people that, look, you have a whole lot of control here. You're controlling your own, you take hold of your own sovereignty and control your thoughts, your words and feelings and attitudes and action responses to what's going on outside of you. And it works. One of the things that was also said in that video that are people is that if you're not having lots and lots of really delicious moments in your life, it's because you're vibrationally out of whack. Another way of saying, in my view, that when you're vibrating lower frequencies because of what you've been exposed to, something outside of you, as I just said, something beyond your control that has got you in a mood, that's not where you're supposed to be. That means you're out of whack. You're out of alignment with your true nature being love, creativity, inspiration, and compassion and kindness. In the vortex, so to speak, I love your definition of it. It's the now, being in the now. And in Abraham's most delicious way, I'll use that word again because it's a really nice one. I haven't used it in a long time. They're reminding us of the fact that you might be thinking about the past, and this is just brilliant. You might be thinking about the past, you might be thinking about the future, and by having those thoughts, they're creating emotional disruption within you. If you're perceiving the past or the future in a negative way, if that's how you're perceiving them, then your now moment is being contaminated by those emotions that you are deriving from the past, which doesn't exist, which is beyond your control, or the future that you fear, which is also not here, which is very much within your control, except you don't think it's within your control because that's why you're having the feelings that you're having. And so the moment of now occurs no matter what. No matter what, there's only now, as she says a zillion times, which I really love. There's only now, there's only now, there's only now, there's only now. Regardless of what you're thinking about, there's only now. Regardless of what you did as a kid, there's only now, because now is the point when you're thinking of it. So you have delicious moments, so to speak, and what do you do with it? This is the conundrum of humanity is, what do? You have all this power. You have this control, okay? As a sovereign being, you control everything. You're fully self-empowered. And the question is, how do you take that moment and shape it so it can be the most loving and joyful thing and impassioned thing that you can make it? That's the question that I am constantly addressing in my life. So it's this point where you just snap yourself. You find yourself thinking about the past, and as Abraham and myself and you and a lot of other people have written, you got to, if the thought that you're having is creating discord within you in any way, shape, or form, change your thought. Thought does not have to occur. That thought is completely within your control. You have the power to control every thought that enters your mind, every thought that exits your mind, everything you say. We have this victim consciousness that makes us say, beyond me, that thought came because so-and-so did this. Somebody did something. They said something. They did whatever, right? And you don't have to have any reaction to anything that goes on in your life that you don't want to have. You can talk about that till you're blue in the face. However, it is always going to be true. You can argue about it. You can say you're right about something else. However, the thought that enters your mind is always within your control. And thought isn't of your own liking, isn't to your liking. You change the thought. Change the thought, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, that to controlling the now.
No, you're absolutely right. I got to share with you. This is a deep confession. So when Abraham talked about being vibrationally in alignment or vibrationally out of whack, right. And one of the things that I really tuned into was I care about how I feel when I'm in full alignment with who I am, and that is what the power of now is. And I thought, okay, well, the power of now, and it kept coming up, power of now, and I always pay attention. I thought, okay, well, Michael really loved the book, The Power of Now, and I missed something, and the whole world really loved the book, The Power of Now, and I thought, well, you know what, I'll put it in my playlist, and I'll start to listen to it, and maybe there's something that I can glean from that. And so I started to play it, and I could not get past the first chapter again. And I thought to myself, well, you know what it is, Michael? It is, and I realized all of a sudden the light bulb came on for me. This book is not in vibrational alignment with where I am. Maybe it would have been 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But it is not in alignment, and even if I wanted to try to force myself, but it was interesting, and perhaps it's even Eckhart Tolle's voice is not in vibrational alignment with me. I don't know what it is, it is not in vibrational alignment with me. But this is what I really love, because when I listened to Abraham, and she talked about the power of now, if you get yourself pinched off from that part of you and you want to go back, it's going back to that source energy, and then loving where you are. And so I recognize that it's okay that I'm not vibrating at everybody else who loved that book. That I don't have to beat myself up about it. I don't have to feel bad that, oh, geez, like, what's wrong with you? Like, don't you get it? Don't you get it? What, you're not, but I must not vibrate frequency. And because I want to feel good, and it's my choice to feel good, and I want to stay in alignment with the source of who I am, guess what? I turned off the book.
Of course.
And I went on to something else.
I agree with you 100%.
Because I want to feel good.
Right.
I want to feel good.
I agree with you. That's right. That's what we're talking about. You control the power of now. You control the vortex, as she puts it, which is really kind of an interesting way of putting the power of now. Plus, the other thing I'm going to tell you is that, there are 1,000 messengers. It's just that Eckhart Tolle doesn't deliver the message in a way that resonates with you, and Abraham Hicks does, or something else that you read does that, where you say, oh yeah, I get that, I like that, that resonates with me, and I'm listening to this 14-minute video, and I'm coming across all the things that I've been talking about in my books and talks and podcasts for years that are said in a completely different way, right? Mm-hmm. And like she says in there, everything's perceptual. Well, I mean, that's true. Perceptions are absolutely, in my view, everything. It's like you want to be happy in the moment of now. You have to be completely alert to how you're perceiving the moment of now. This moment that you're in. If you're perceiving it in a negative way, then you're going to be in all of the feelings and thoughts and responses to life are going to coordinate and correspond with that perception. And life is perceptual, and if you perceive your life as being joyful and everything you encounter being joyful, you're going to have that experience of life. Loving, wow, that is the ultimate. The ultimate is to perceive everything that you encounter in your life in a loving way, from love. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
It's teaching me something. And maybe to somebody else, it's the most tragic thing that could ever happen. But no. I love this moment because it's teaching me what I don't want in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of focusing on what happened, how it happened, and the feelings and everything that everybody says you should be feeling because of what happened, you can simply say, hey, I love this moment. It's taught me what I don't want in my life. And you just move on from it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that you have to go through 7 stages of mental, gymnastics in order to get to the point where you're happy again. Change your thought. Perceptions are thoughts. One of the most important thoughts that you have throughout the day. And you've got millions of people toiling away every day at something they don't really like that they perceive in a negative way. No wonder there's so much disease in the world. I mean, that's just no silver bullet here, but we're talking about contributory situations, things that contribute to disease. And mentally, your mental state has a lot to do with it, what you encounter, how you process events, whether you're holding in anger, whether you're not, whether you're blaming, whether you're making yourself out to be a victim. All these things, right, are these perceptions. Victimization is a perception. And a lot of people, without knowing it, are living from the standpoint of a victim. That's how they go about life. And that's how they live every single day. Wake up as a victim of the work they do. Wow.
Right.
Isn't that amazing, right? I'm a victim of my boss, the person who has dominion over me at the office. I am, a victim of a child who doesn't do what I say. And a husband or wife or partner or significant other that is always screwing up, in my view, right? I mean, literally,
right.
We have and our language happens to validate that. We validate our victimization by the language that we use. He did this to me, she did this to me, that happened to me, blah, 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 blah. And when we wake up from that dream that we're having, or nightmare, whichever one you're perceiving it as being, everything changes. Change that thought, change that dialogue. Recognize the recognition that that's what you're living from. And wow, we spend a lot of time. I told you a couple shows ago that a friend of mine, I woke up, I had this aha moment. There you go. This moment of in conversation with a friend I've been talking to for 2 years that is having problem after problem after problem, and it occurred to me that this friend is seeing everything from the perspective of a victim. And if that would change, everything in their life would change. Everything.
You're right.
Would change. And the last thing I want to do, when I find listen, I'm human too. Sometimes I can momentarily make myself out to be a victim. However, I recognize what I'm doing and going, no. I'm not giving away my right to feel and think and respond in a positive way to something outside of me, which is, where I go very quickly. I do it on the golf course all the time. It's so tempting to do it, because when you're responsible for your own life, not anybody else. Regardless of your age, you learn that over time. That's something we have to learn as we move forward. But that's right. That vortex context. So it's brilliant. It's just brilliant the way it's put. I hope that it resonates with the people who watch it here on PRNFM that watch the link can grasp it in a way that helps them to make a shift in terms of their own thinking to enable them to stay in the vortex where source energy resides, where all the creativity, inspiration, all the intuition, everything is there. Your whole life can simply change if you spend more time there.
Right. Well, and Michael, when you speak about perception, that's why I really like the information about the stars. When we see a star that is 4 years away or 7,000 years away, we're just here in the now. We're only seeing the light. And it was a good metaphor for me because wherever somebody is seeing themselves, again, as you said, that's a perception. So is the perception coming from fear and worry or even habit because we're so used to doing something that we expect something to happen? But when we open ourselves up, we step aside beyond those confines of those habitual thoughts, and we walk into the world of infinite possibilities, which is really where I like to play, then things start to flow more with ease and grace, which I love. Everything with ease and grace. When I get on a plane, walking to the airport, I'm just going to allow my day to flow with ease and grace. And no matter what happens, it just has to flow. And that's how I sort of tune in. And in the teachings of Abraham Hicks, it's about being in that present moment. That's how we access the source energy. That's the pure positive energy that aligns us with our true self. And I think that even my little struggle with that book, The Power of Now, I recognize, no, this is in alignment with me. So then I choose to be more fully present. I find the things that I am in alignment with, where I find the joy, I find the brilliance, I find whatever it is that makes me happy. And that's how I thrive. I really do thrive on joy. And Abraham in the video speaks about peace, the peace within ourselves. And that when we come in, and I'm trying to exactly remember how it was worded, we talk about memory, but I think that we come in the way that it was explained, that Abraham explained it, that we come in to this world with the intent to have a blissful experience, a peaceful experience, one of contentment, one of passion in every moment. So that allows us to be a genius creator, and that we can work with source within. So we become sort of disconnected from that because of whatever the speed bumps in our world are, or as you said, we're looking for the problem. We get up in the morning and it's cloudy. I was looking for a blue sky day and it's going to rain, or whatever it is. But I think that by shifting that perception, then we're accessing a whole other realm of possibility.
No, I agree. I agree 110%. I mean, 120%. You're going to be this step back a second. You're going to be taking a little trip. And I know people who, the moment you say you're going somewhere, and you ask them if they're going somewhere, they might say yes, but the next thing out of their mouth is their perception of travel, be it by car, by train, by plane, by boat. It doesn't make any difference. The perception of flying for many people is negative. Just the concept of I'm going on vacation, but the what happens between here and when I get on vacation, I just hate that. So they're setting themselves up to have an experience that simply validates that travel is the worst thing ever. And what you just said there about making every moment joyful for you is the way that I engage with travel. I love traveling. I am happy as a clam when I'm going somewhere. Happy. I don't care how many hours I'm in the plane. I make the best out of everything. And every moment. And I if someone's standing next to me, I approach it from they're supposed to be there for some reason. I'll say hello to them, when you're standing in line, getting ready to, looking to check in, same thing. The person in front of you, the person behind you, there's no accident that they're standing there. And my mission during all of my trips, from beginning to end, is to connect with people, because that's why we're here, to connect with people. And that's how I met the person that you hopefully will connect with you there in Pittsburgh. That's how I met, a dozen other people. Whether it's somebody serving me at a restaurant, the maitre d', the sommelier, the whatever it may be, or the person who was taking us on a guided tour of the city. What a fabulous individual that she was. And what an amazing 3 hours that was after being on a plane, traveling for 8-9 hours. So when you're looking at, when we're looking at things that we're actually looking to do, I encourage not only our listeners, but everybody else who listens to this on the podcast too, or to whatever it is you're going to do. You're going to go to the doctor. You got a doctor's appointment. Perceive it in a positive way, so that the experience that you have can be positive, so that positive things will occur for you. Because otherwise, we're programming a negative experience for ourselves. And I like to experience a positive experience. I want a positive, and I realize that it's programming. I'm the one who programs my reality, and so every time you go to the store, every time you go to the bank, every time you go somewhere, and in these busy cities where you're queuing up like crazy for everything, remember, it can be a positive experience if you connect with the person behind you, the person in front of you, When you smile, other people will smile back. You can make it a positive experience, no matter what it is. Whatever and there is no dread. I don't dread doing anything. There's some people that, I've got to do this thing. It's dreadful. They come at it from that.
No, you change that to you get to do it. You get to do that.
I get to go do this thing. Right. I get to enjoy what amazing thing is going to happen when I go do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking for the amazing thing. You're not looking for the worst of humanity or the worst of the experience. You're looking for something positive. And
right.
When I tell people that, they go, you got to be kidding me. No, it's terrible. No, it's not terrible. It's the words, the language that you're using that is validating the perception that you're having, and that is going to make it the worst thing ever. And whatever it can happen, that's what you're going to program to happen.
For sure. One of the things in this video that I really appreciated, and I love the languaging. I love language. There's so much complexity in it.
Of course.
And Abraham said that we are launching rockets of desire, whether it be a positive or an opposite of positive experience, that perhaps that it was something that we wanted to learn. So they used an example of a bully on a playground and how that there was something that you wanted to learn about that bully. And so we launched that rocket of desire. And it was actually quite comical because she said when I was on the playground at age 12 and there was this bully and it was this horrible experience. And Abraham basically says that, no, it wasn't a horrible experience. And then they say, well, are you crazy? Like, I was there. I know what the experience was.
Right.
And I laughed about that because I thought, well, all of these different things, and I'll look back at different things even in my childhood or adulthood. When I look at them as launching a rocket of desire, what was I wanting to learn? And it'll show up. It'll show up very quickly. You have to be careful how quickly you manifest. And I have been saying, I need to get this house cleaned out, is what I have been saying multiple times. I need to get this house cleaned out. I need to get this house cleaned out. And although I haven't had much time to clean out this particular house, I had some people burglarize this house that I said I needed cleaned out. And guess what? They helped me clean it out.
Exactly.
They took boxes. They took all kinds of...
Right.
Not in the way I intended.
But it's what happened.
Exactly. However, the way that I am looking at it, and I even said to the detective, it's not that I don't value the things that were in there. I look at the options of what could have happened, and I feel very blessed that it was just things and not my animals or not anything else. And I look back at that and I thought and maybe that's why I really resonated with this particular video, because it was about the launching those rockets of desire. And so whether or not I keep saying this and I'm languaging it into reality, but guess what? I'm not taking the action myself. So Source is going to assist me to be in my full power.
True.
And I looked at that. I thought, wow, what am I aligning myself to? Then I recalibrate.
Launching rockets would be akin to putting that vibration out there?
Right.
It was.
She said, what am I doing? What am I doing vibrationally? And that's exactly. And then what she said, what I am doing vibrationally matches what Source thinks, and it activates the other vibration.
Mm-hmm. Whatever you.
So please, Michael.
Thoughts are things. You put a thought out there, and that thought becomes a thing. So we have to be very careful of what it is. It manifests into the physical. All thoughts in some way do manifest in the physical. Be very careful what your thinking is. Is that what we're talking about? Be careful what rockets you're launching, the thoughts you're putting out there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. I love that analogy of launching rockets. Rockets of desire, rockets of intention, rockets of what you intend in your life, what you want. And a lot of times people are not clear about what it is they want, so they say a lot of other gobbledygook that launches rockets that they don't want to launch. Would that be correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then taking it back to, when you match what Source thinks, that's why being in the now and staying so focused, Source is only focused in the now. It's all happening now. It's all happening now, and there is no time-space reality. And she used the example of, why do we call it the past? Because it's in the past. And what about the future? Well, it's after the now. The past is after the now. Yeah, it's after the now and the future. Before the now. Thank you.
Before. Yeah.
You know what
I'm saying. After the now, but it's still the now. It hasn't really occurred.
Right.
In the future, when you get there, it will be the now.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So it will only be that. There is only now. Mm-hmm.
There is only now.
And that's probably why I don't play in time.
I love the simplicity of it. It's just that we have been taught 8 ways to Sunday that's not the way it is.
Right.
It's, we this world, it's interesting. I think I'm not the only one that says this, but it's been said, probably thousands of times, that time is a construct that keeps people that was created in order to organize labor, to get things done. And other than that, does it have any value? Likely not. I mean, it really, it's a construct, a rigid structure by which people can get up and go to work and get off work and go do other things. And so when which is interesting because I've been working out of my house for 20 years, and a lot of people, including those listening to us here on PRN FM, might have been subject to, or might still be subject to working from home. Either because they have to, or because they want to, or they've chosen to. And my point is, when you work from home, and I know you don't go to an office either, you have to yourself. You structure your day in a way that flows positively. Where there's things that you'd like to get done, that you're going to, you launch a lot of rockets for. And there are things that are going to occur which you did not expect, yet those things may have also been created because you launched rockets in that direction for those things to occur. And it's an interesting way of looking at your life. It's an interesting way of looking at how your day unfolds. And for me, I know that, I get to work eventually. I have things that really have to get done that I really go enjoy doing, cleaning the barn, taking care of the horse, taking care of the cat. I don't have as many furry creatures as you have to take care of. However, we whether we've got 1 or 20, we have interactions with them that are all fun and positive and loving and all of that. If we see it that way. If we see taking care of animals as a chore, then there isn't going to be any love there, or any joy for that matter. And these are the simple choices that we make every single day. And I don't know, I have fun cleaning my cat's box. I talk to her while I'm doing it, and, I see, here you go, you did it again, your cat box is clean, it's awesome, look at this, You can have fun, I just have fun with her. And same thing when you walk dogs. You look into their eyes and see the unconditional love that they're giving back to you. And boy, that melts your heart and makes you think that everything is, it helps you know that everything is just fine. Everything in the world is as it should be. And it's a beautiful feeling. It's pretty spectacular. But yeah, I love that launching rockets. What it makes me of? You remember when the teachers talked about bubbles?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The rockets, to me, are another metaphor. Are the same kind of metaphor. That your thoughts create bubbles that go out into the universe and manifest. They never go away. The bubbles are just always there. And it's a different way of putting it. However, yeah, it's however you get that message is perfect.
Right. And I love the fact too, when I think about the vortex, and I had not really used that languaging ever, and it was something, I think it was something new for you. But I think about that, we have this whirlwind, right, and then it comes down to a center, and that's where we are. We have the center, and that's where the source is within you. It's never separate from you. Right. And so that joyful, loving energy, and she said something about, and I apologize because I can't remember the exact language, but about we came from that source of love, and we are love. And so anything that takes us away from that is not the vibrational match of source. Right. But that loving energy is always available to us. So even though we may have stepped away from that bring yourself back in. Make peace with whatever it is. I made peace with the burglars that were robbing me. I aligned myself to that source energy because I need to feel good. I want to feel good.
Yeah.
I deserve to feel good. And so that allows me to be back in my flow. I'm connected. I'm supported. I feel like I never went into a fear state. I just have to navigate through however things are. And I think that when you live in that feeling, it opens up a whole new world. I'm not limited by my thoughts. And the things that have unfolded since that time of them breaking in and taking things has opened a whole new world to me. And it's actually, I said that it's sort of surreal. It's like I'm watching a comedy show, or there was a movie, I don't know when it came out, called Criminal Minds, and it was actually based on a true story about these really inept criminals and the mistakes that they made. But I also thought about that. There's a filmmaker, his name's Nick Askew, and he does these soul biographies, and he said that he always really felt connected to whomever it was. And he said when he started making the soul biographies, he filmed mass murderer in prison. And then he filmed somebody that was so close to being a saint. But he realized that they were really all one, that they're just different experience in this time-space continuum. It's and I'll post a link to it because I found it it's haunting to me because I think that I could reflect that when I was a child and I looked around, I felt so connected to everybody, and I didn't see, there was no judgment. There was no judgment of bad, good, whatever it was. I just felt the person. I felt connected to them. So I felt if somebody was doing something that was maybe not so nice, I would feel compassion and empathy to the person that was on the other end of that. And also the person, I would think, well, why would they be doing that? Because that wouldn't be something that I would do. And maybe they weren't loved enough, or I would try to go into that deeper understanding. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you sort of live from that place of non-judgment as best we can't all be perfect, but to try to understand, and even these particular gentlemen that burglarized me, they live in the neighborhood, and so I see them, and they wave to me now, and we've had conversations. And it seems very surreal. I had some juice the other day, and I was taking some things out, and the one guy was walking by, and I said, "Would you like a juice?" And I handed it to him. And I had some snacks. Because he's homeless, and I understand that. And he's trying to survive the best he can. And I had a conversation with him. I said, well, how old are you? And he said he was 35. And I said, well, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing? What would you like to do? What do you want to do? And it was interesting. He said, well, I used to be a tree trimmer, and I used to do this. And I'm not really sure how he got to where he is. But I just sort of feel where are you going to be 10 years from now? Is this really the life you want? And I can have a conversation without feeling angry or all of these other things. And I just said to the other gentleman who was involved, he said, well, you don't think I was involved? I said, it's not up to me. So I gave the police all the information. It's up to them. It's not out of my hands. I let it go. Because I need to go and continue with myself. And I think it's that kindness and that connection, and it's the love that we speak about. And I don't know. I've never been homeless. I don't know what I would be forced to do to survive. And so, just open myself up to it.
It's a mindset. That is, in terms of that experience, it's a fantastic story, by the way. What I was going to say is that you've given our audience the recipe for maintaining their sovereignty in the face of something that most people would literally immediately brand themselves as a victim and then start going down that road. You chose not to, and as I can understand why you did that, and I wouldn't ever see that you would make yourself out to be a victim of anything, and you just pretty much described the process you went through, thought-wise, to our audience to be able to enable them to do the same. And I appreciate that. That's very wonderful, actually. I don't know if you knew that you were actually doing that, but that's what people, in my view, want to hear is how do I do this? How do I, we talked about being a sovereign and taking total control of your thoughts, your words, and feelings and actions. Well, how do you do that? If this happens to you, I'm supposed to be to blame this person and call the cops and never forgive them and the whole 9 yards, right? Which is completely the antithesis of what you did here, right? It's completely different, and therefore you got a different experience out of this whole thing. And we never know, and I haven't said this in a while, but when people act the way that they do towards you, you're never going to understand the root motivation of why they're doing it. And in many cases, it's got nothing to do with you. It could be a trigger that they're acting out, that something's been triggered in their subconscious. They're acting out something from years ago or when they were a kid. You have no clue.
Sure.
As to that, why someone's all of a sudden yelling and screaming at you because they had another experience at some point in their life that they've refused to let go of, where they branded themselves as a victim, and that's what they carry with them. And every time something happens similar, even if it's only 1% similar, then that whole, those rockets go off and they start acting and acting out in the way that they did back when that original thing occurred. And it's wonderful to see how you've evolved through this event that you had happen in your life. It's really, really refreshing, actually. Super refreshing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you're right, I didn't really think about it in that standpoint.
But that's just the nuts and bolts of where you go with this thing. You were feeling your way through it, but I'm sure in your heart you said, I have some responsibility here. Maybe I had even the thoughts that I wanted to get rid of these things out of the house. That's another way of looking at it. I want to clean out this house. Those rockets go up, and a lot of people aren't drawing putting two and two together and making four out of the thoughts that they've had, and seeing how the thoughts that they've had have manifested into things that they didn't necessarily want to happen. However, thoughts are things, and things do occur. Thoughts become physical reality after a while. That's what you're putting out there, and I love it. You're a loving being, and I wouldn't expect you to come at this from any other angle. I just want our audience to know that you can have that kind of experience yourself by changing the way that you approach the situation. I told a story, I think about a couple of years ago, about somebody who came by and robbed, was pulled out a gun and was going to rob a couple who were sitting out in there. I think they were in the Northeast, and they had a table out front of a walk-up. They were having some wine, and this person wanted to rob. And instead of acquiescing to the robbery, they said, "You want to sit down for a glass of wine? Would you like a glass of wine?" And it changed everything, because that was completely and totally unexpected by the person who was doing the robbing, and it was an understanding situation from the person who was being robbed, that the motivation behind that robbery was something completely different. And there was a show as well, an Equalizer episode with Queen Latifah, that had that similar pattern of that similar plot line, where a gentleman was robbing a store, and he was doing it because he was on his last leg, and he didn't know what else to do, and that was what he chose to do. And the person, the aunt of Queen Latifah, who was there with her daughter, her niece, they looked past the situation, that the reality that they were faced with, to see this man as something different, and in doing so, helped him understand that he didn't need to be doing that. And there's always a story behind people's actions that we never have an opportunity or never will be able to understand.
Sure, you're 100% right, Michael. And it's interesting sometimes how things pop up on social media, things that start to trend. And just the other day, and it popped up on 2 different forums, it was a story about this woman who lived in a tree. It was a 180-foot tree. It was a 1,000-year-old tree, and she lived there for 2 years. to try to save a forest from loggers. Her name is Julia Hill, and they called her Julia Butterfly Hill. But she lived in that tree for 738 days. And a lot of people, the perception, like, why are you doing this? I mean, it was for her way to protest. And she wanted to make a statement that this tree had lived for 1,000 years and it needed to be preserved. And so she literally lived off the ground on a platform under wind and rain and all sorts of things. And she would not come down from that tree. And I found it really interesting. I think she was 28 at the time. And there are different organizations. Some people would say, oh, why is she doing that? But she had that deep conviction. Perhaps she was launching that rocket of desire. And during that time period, her and the logging company actually came to an agreement, and they did preserve the forest. And what I found so fascinating was at the end of it, they had the logging company actually ended up going bankrupt, which is sort of interesting. But it was for what purpose? To take down a tree that had existed. And it was her passion. And I think that that's sort of what Abraham speaks about too, that we come in with a passion. And whatever it is, this is what our source thrives on. So it thrives on that joy and the well-being and, again, that peacefulness. So she could have chained herself to the bottom of the tree. She definitely made a statement. I had never heard of her, actually, before it started trending on social media. And I think it was 1998, I think, is when she went up in the tree. And she was just in her 20s. And it speaks to resilience, but it was her perception and what she felt called to do. Again, the same thing, it really touched me. And then it showed up again. So not only did I see it once, but it was, for her, it was about a peaceful statement, and she wasn't going to give up. No matter what happened. And I think it's a really great metaphor for our lives and also being in that vortex, that when we align ourselves with that joyous nature and that love of who we are within, things just unfold seemingly effortlessly, and we just are there, and that brings us back to love. It brings us back to love. And she, as Abraham said, there's only the now, there's only the now, there's only the now. And they said, do you want me to say it again? There's only the now. And I would say there's only the love, there's only the love, there's only the love. How many times do I have to say it? But I'll say it again and again and again, because I truly believe love is who you are. Love is who I am. I came in to be. I try to exemplify it as best I can in every way and in every circumstance. And so sometimes it's just taking a deep breath, counting to 3, re-examining, reevaluating, changing your perception.
That's true. Everything you've said I agree with. There is only the now, there is only love. Love is source, source is love. It's all connected. And we allow ourselves to be disconnected from it, but we seek it deep inside. We really want it, and when we experience it, we want more of it. And we don't want more of the discord, more of the anger, more of the lower frequency vibrations. We want more love, unconditional. And in that, it's because we come from it. It's innate to who we are. Come from it, we will go back to it. A feeling, a depth of love that we could never really understand here, and it is so. It's ubiquitous. It's like it's everything. It's 100% love. Every moment is filled with it. It's something that when you're living that way here is more of a challenge because it's not the norm. It's the exception. That is the reason why it is, in my view, that it is so challenging when we are born and we go through our lives. Love is the exception to the rule. Even if you're in a deep, loving relationship, there's everything outside the relationship that should be based in love as well. All the interactions and contacts and connections, the events. It's a way of thinking, acting, speaking, and responding. And that is the challenge. That is the challenge for each and every one of us. It's not like we escape, having to deal with things. It's just that we have to make a decision to step back and approach it from a perspective of love with intention, so that we can feel awesome and have an outcome that is, in many cases, as this woman who was in the platform in the tree, is better than we could have possibly expected. I mean, it's somebody called it greed, grit, and greed, grind, and capitalism is what one woman referred to life as. And I said, well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I think there are a lot of people who approach it from that standpoint, and a lot of people who are young people who are learning to approach it from that standpoint. Hopefully, at some particular point, they'll understand that those are simply choices that we make,
right?
Versus
right.
that your life has to be that way, right?
Sure.
If you're chasing money, that's one thing. If you chase a passion and live from that passion, there's a whole different experience that you have, and it's wonderful. It's like
right.
bliss, right? If you're searching living from bliss, I think Abraham Hicks did say that. Use that word, bliss.
She did. And the other thing and what you were just speaking about, there was a languaging that Abraham used, which was an expansion of me from which source within. And I love that, because I thought about it, because they said everything that I've lived in my past or even in my present is causing an expansion of me, for which the source within me is so joyful if I just keep remembering that I'm focused upon past, present, or future, that what I'm really wanting to pay attention to is the alignment with my source. I was like,
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think about that.
Love.
Expansion. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Alignment with love. Love and source are synonymous. That is, to me, that's probably the most valuable statement, is that love and source are synonymous. You come from love. You come from source. Source is love, and love is source. And if we start approaching life from that perspective, again, instantly things change. Instantly, because we start seeing the next thing that happens in a different way. It's mind blowing sometimes to think like that. To think that of how just changing your thinking along those lines. Which Abraham said too. I mean, if you're not liking the way you feel, change your thought. Mm-hmm. Change your thought. Change what you're thinking in that moment. Choose a different thought, I believe is the way Abraham put it. Choose a different thought. Choose a different thought. Wow, how simple, I should say, that is. Some people would call it not easy, but I don't know. Again, that's a perception. It can be as easy as you want it to be. You're going to change.
Kind of like, what do you want? Yeah, kind of like, what do you want to top your ice cream with? We talked about
exactly.
How joyful ice cream is. Do you want chocolate syrup? Do you want some strawberries on top? Well, how about some whipped cream?
Yeah.
Sprinkles.
Oreos.
Yeah.
Crunched up Oreos. Yes.
What do you want to mix it in? Yeah. We all personalize what it is. And sometimes you just want plain vanilla. You just want plain vanilla. That's okay.
That's so true.
And everybody you're going out for ice cream with, come on, you want something on top of your vanilla. Come on, get this. And it's like, no, I just really want vanilla today.
Simple vanilla bean can be amazing,
Absolutely.
Vanilla bean. Yeah, it can be spectacular, and no extras needed. That's kind of the whole idea. I love these shows. They're fabulous. They get me thinking a whole different way. I'm just like everybody else. You can get down in the weeds of things, and you have to remember where you are and remember what life is about. Reconnect with your source and the love that you have for yourself and your life, and that remember that life is supposed to be fun. Everybody says that. Carol and the teachers say that. Abraham Hicks says it in this video. Life is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun. So how do you make life fun? By making choices that are in alignment with fun. Okay, like, wow, really?
It.
Yeah, I don't want to do that thing. Oh, okay. Just because somebody says you have to do something doesn't mean you have to do it. then again, you can have fun doing anything. It's like two sides of the same coin, right? You're talking badly, perceptually, about something that you're going to do. Why not shift that thought to how can I have fun doing this? How can I make this fun for me? How can I make it fun? How can I put a smile on my face when I do it? And then your creative juices start flowing, and your intuition kicks in, and your creativity and your inspiration, and all of a sudden you found a way because you shot the rockets off about how to do that, right? I guess that's the way that goes, right? What rockets?
Oh, without a doubt.
Rockets are tied to manifestation. What are you manifesting? What thoughts are you putting out there? The rockets are going up, and they're gonna manifest whatever it is that you're thinking, what you're saying that you want. Good, bad, or ugly, right?
Yep. And how best can you exemplify being the joy of being alive? And that, to me, it's that. And that brings me back to my peace, and that brings me back to so many other things. And I so appreciate always you remind me about being a sovereign being and bringing my power back to myself and to really live truth of who I am and what I came here to do. And it's a fantastic reminder, even if I started off in the weeds, as you said, with spacious consciousness. I think it wasn't an accident it showed up instead of the power of now for me. I found it sort of a different way to transcend my experience of the world. I'm like, wow, there's something about the heart consciousness. Now I can go to spacious consciousness and play in that realm for a while. How fun.
Play in that realm. Fun. We can, I think that, in my view, we take our power of choice for granted, that we don't have a choice for a lot of things. When we're in the weeds, so to speak, we can choose not to be there. We can choose different thoughts while we're there that will change our experience of being there. That is, and not be so hard-headed and think, oh, no, that's not possible. Oh, no, that's not possible. Yeah, but he did this to me, but they did this to me, but they said that to me. Well, that's victimization, and yeah, you can shift that thought too, that perception of victimization. Is that we have all this power. We have all this power. What does she say? Oh, right. Take a look at this here. We have the power, right? We have the power to feel good. There you go. That sums it all up. We have the power to feel good. We have the power to feel good. If we could just remember that in every moment of our day, we have the power to feel good by the choices that we make, the perceptions that we have about things, all those other little things. We have the power to feel good. We don't have to feel bad. We choose to feel good or bad. And that's, if we harness that power, our entire world, everything changes. I love simple concepts like that have such a big impact, because that's a huge impact. Right. When I'm out playing golf, I can decide if my round isn't going so well, I shift my thoughts. I change my thoughts. I test my thoughts, and I change my thoughts. And I let things go. I let go.
You're right.
I find myself holding on to something. Let it go. Relax. And just flow. Go with the flow, right?
Without a doubt. And that's what she said, too. She said, once you realize that you are powerful, you are never powerless again.
Right. Oh, love that.
Wow. Yeah. You never have to feel bad again.
Right.
You don't have, I was like, wow, you have the ability to feel good because you know that existence of that higher frequency. You are never powerless again. And I thought, fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
That's so true. It's like this, your impervious suit of armor. Nothing can hurt you. Nothing can make you feel any way that you don't want to feel. It is a glorious feeling. And if our audience here on PRNFN takes anything from this conversation, it's that I hope they understand that they have the power, innate power to feel good. You were born with it. It's never going away. It's yours forever. And everyone has that power. And when you embrace yours, again, your life will be completely transformed. And the way you feel will be transformed. And you'll have the ability to better connect with Source whenever you want. You'll be able to feel love whenever you want to feel love if you're not feeling it already. Or well, let's put it this way. You'll know how to get back to feeling love. Eh?
Yeah. Beautiful.
You'll know how to get back. All right?
Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you for bringing me back to love in this hour in all ways. And thank you to our audience here on Connect to Love on PRN FM. And we feel you, and we are so grateful, and we love you. Thank you.